I study extremely hard. But am I passing? No. Well, this video is for you.
I would like to get to know what could be.
There are certain reasons why people might find themselves studying very hard, but still not getting good grades. And I've taken my time to do the research, compile a few tips that I find quite reasonable for people getting bad grades yet studying very hard. Here are the tips. The first point that I can say is you probably do not understand how your studying abilities are actually aligned. You know how there are some people that actually study well while listening to music? Well, that just might not be you, but you still try to do that. And at times, there are people who, when studying with music, it actually gets you phased in and able to study. And there are some people who, when studying with music, you just end up dancing, you end up singing the song, lyrics and everything. You should probably reconsider that. But music is not necessarily for everyone. And music is just one of these things that I'm saying. Also, you need to know what time of the day you actually concentrate or focus better. Some people focus better at night, some people focus better in the morning. We differ. That's something that makes us special. It doesn't mean that because I study at night, because I study in the morning, then you too can study in the morning or at night as my studying goes. Because again, this is absolutely selective. You need to take that into consideration. My second reason is actually quite cliche. You have heard it many times. When someone tells you to study smart and not hard, actually that might be the reason, because you're studying hard and not smart. See, studying hard is one thing if you're not doing it smart enough. The problem with many people is that you find yourself actually doing more work than your brain can handle. You cannot decide to say, you know what? I mean, yes, I'm going to study 50 pages of this textbook all in 1 hour. Yes, that's hard work. You worked very hard. But was it productive? It was efficient, yes, but was it effective? How much of those 50 pages can you recite to me right now? You must actually consider that. Think about it. Ask yourself, am I studying smart? Am I studying hard? And if I'm studying hard, is it effective or is it efficient? And the third reason that I can give you is you're probably studying passively and not actively. Now, let's dive into this. Passive studying. Someone who's studying passively, you're highlighting, you're just reading, just sitting, reading, you're highlighting, right? And then someone who actually studies in an active way, they're standing up, active recalling. They're recalling all these things. They're asking themselves questions. They're writing down on paper. Spaced repetition, walking around the house, walking around the room, reciting all that, reciting. There's a difference between someone who's passively studying and someone who's actively studying. You cannot be studying something by reading it and by doing this, just highlighting. Yes, you will learn something, but not as much as had you read it, came back to write on paper what you just read, and then come back and write down in a different color pen what is there, but you did not write it because you forgot it. Trust me, it will work. So actually try to reconsider studying actively instead of passively. And for the next one, don't get me wrong, but most of you probably do not understand the concept of periodic memory. Now, this might sound a bit gibberish, but periodic memory is, you see how people say short-term memory, long-term memory. This is what I'm talking about. Let's use this scenario as an example. We have this learner who has an exam and they study something now, they recite it, they recall it, do all these active types of study, right? And they come back 20 minutes later or 30 minutes later, they recite them again. They come back an hour later, they recite them again. And then they go and write their exam in the next 4 days. The probability of them remembering everything is slightly smaller than the second learner now, who studies right now, recalls everything, comes back 30 minutes later, recalls everything, comes back an hour later, does the same thing, comes back tomorrow, asks themselves questions on it, comes back the next day and tries to recall everything again, comes back the next day. This is a thing of this second learner will have these things stuck in their long-term memory. And it is probably why most of the things that you have learned in a long-term memory type of sense, someone can ask you now, but you still remember something that you learned 3 years back. And things that were in your short memory, those you've forgotten. So ask yourself if you're actually getting things in your short-term memory or in your long-term memory. Just ask yourself such. The next reason might be that you're actually setting yourself an unrealistic study timetable. Or maybe you don't even have a timetable at all, which is bad, but just make a timetable. I will make a video soon how to make an effective study timetable. Now, let's look at this in this way. You have a timetable. Perfect. It's beautiful. It has all the things. It's colorful. It has everything. But your timetable says that you must study 4 hours of maths, get a break for 3 minutes, study 5 hours of physics, and study 4 hours of life sciences, and then sleep 20 minutes. Surely you will not follow the times. I mean, this is an exaggeration, but it is an example of how some of your timetables look. It is very unrealistic because you didn't think about the fact that at some point you're you're human. At some point you want to use your phone. At some point you have chores that you have to do, if you have them. You have friends that you probably might want to go visit. So actually consider and ask yourself those types of questions. Am I setting a realistic timetable considering my life, considering the things that I do? I play football. I need to get the time for training. I need to get the time to do my personal trainings. I need to get the time to go to the gym. I need to get the time to study. I need to get most of you, and I know that most of you actually have girlfriends and boyfriends. You need to get the time to give that person attention. You can't say you're going to study a whole 10 hours and then sleep for 2 hours and wake up again, study another 10 hours. Unless if you've broken up with your boyfriend or girlfriend. But somewhere there, you will need to have that time to talk to them. So ask yourself if your timetable is realistic for your life. Just ask yourself that. Set a realistic study timetable. Now, another major reason might be that actually most of you are actually guilty of this. You put in too much effort in the end and none, absolutely none, during the process of getting to the end. So what I mean is, term 1 or semester 1, whichever it is, let's use terms. Term 1, you have a test. You have a test on specific content. Term 2, you have a test on specific content. Different types of contents, yes? And then at the end of the year, you have an exam which examines everything you learned in term 1, 2, 3, and 4. In term 1, you didn't really take your test as seriously. You didn't really try to study things to put them in your long-term memory. You didn't try to really actively have it there because you just wanted to pass. All you did was to memorize. By the time you get to the final exam, you have to learn all of that now, if you had actually studied for all of those tests as if your life depends on it, and you study them with these active recalling techniques, study them with so much concentration, focus, so as to really aim for success. If you actually did that, by the time you write your exam, there'll be such less content to study because you will have learned all that. You already know it. It's in your memory. It's in your long-term memory. Then all you have to do is just brush up on it, as people say it. Basically, what I'm trying to say to you here is ask yourself if you actually put in as much effort in making sure that your studying is effective throughout the year as you're willing to at the end, because now you will fall to the trick of trying to cover all of the year's content within 2 days, which is quite impossible. You can cover it, as we said. You can be efficient in doing it. You can be very quick, but is it effective? No. Don't be trying to put so much work in the end and such little work in the process. Most of you are watching this either in the end or towards the end. So just the next year, the next academic year, just make sure. Work hard in the beginning, keep going with that hard work, such that in the end, you're just brushing off on it all. And my last point here, my last reason for why you're actually studying hard but not getting necessarily good grades that match up to the amount of work that you put in, is that you're probably not curious enough. Realize that if you can think of a question that is not directly found in your textbook, then surely your examiner, surely your teacher can think of that question as well. The trap that most of you fall into is that The moment you think about something and it's something that is not in the textbook, it's not really directly in the textbook. You try looking in the textbook, you do not find the answer. And what do? Yeah, fine, it's not there. You're like, the fact that it's not in the textbook makes it unimportant. That question that you're asking yourself, it is not in the textbook. You can ask your teachers. You can ask your friends. If you don't believe in your friends, then ask someone who you really believe knows that or might have an answer to that question. And if all else fails, don't worry. Search the internet. We have YouTube videos, we have websites. Literally, you ask yourself, now let's say, for example, in life sciences. It's not necessarily in every textbook. Life science grade 12 is the example I'm using. It is not necessarily in every textbook where they give reasons for why the semicircular canals of the ear are actually in 90 degrees to each other. But now, if you are able to ask yourself that question, why is the shape against Naxi saw? Like, if you ask yourself that question, why are they shaped like this? What makes you think that a teacher won't ask you? Well, funny enough, this question was actually in quite a number of exams and tests. It just caught kids off guard. It's the type of questions you get for your prelims. Now that you go into prelims, expect the unexpected. I'm not trying to scare anyone, but yeah, all I'm saying is all these questions that you can ask yourself, really do go deep into them, and they just might suffice. And so, yeah, this video is actually quite short as compared to other ones, but I just found myself asking myself this question, and I had quite a number of people asking me why they study so hard but they're still getting bad grades. So I just thought to compile all these points, and I hope this helps someone. So just ask yourself all these questions, and hopefully you can pick a thing or two. I would like if you picked everything, but hopefully you can pick a thing or two to use in your next exams and everything. And yeah, otherwise I wish you all the best. All those that are writing exams at the time of watching this video, I wish you all the best, and peace.